the unreal, the quasi Friedrich Wilhelm Westermann, the quasi father, would take care that each and every story tellable would indeed reach his realm of working further upon. And yeah, and this is indeed what was played from over there. They even would send Indians oddly grinning and thereby mimicking my father. And that idea, mimicking me only smiling wise, my father, I can directly connect back to Nienburg, Weser, Germer. Germer, former bank director. The son. And this suggests already a psychological impetus, and this I would ascribe to Svenja Taubner. Psychology professor in Berlin, former or still, and that one I could include already in the streak of brunettes. And I ex-commed her so now let's see how the mother would behave and which person is likely to have been taken to play her. It would be a nga or nigga, yeah, not nigger but nigga. It is a Persian name, and it means staring or looking thoroughly. So that one would behave similarly, yeah, namely not in my interest at all. That one, by contrast, would not be interested in any story of mine at all. Why by contrast? My father would listen, but would switch off listening to too long a story. And Nega, playing my mother, former MR3 quasi co-inhabitant, because she was not rented in there, but just a guest of the first male co-inhabitant. So she was sometimes there, not always. That one, well, as that one, she would be interested. But if indeed playing my mother, she would not inquire at all. Yeah, so those kinds of people, they would at least after 2006 start to completely fucking up my life, and more so I could show that they need money from elsewhere, and be it via me, and therefore they have to make sure that each and every social contact that I once had in my life was either dragged over very soon. In most cases that ought not have been a problem, and they would make sure that other contacts are not being established. Here the health center would do its part. Question though why they would obey the wishes of a half-ways Iranian, unless she was not really an Iranian, but let's say a former RAF, because she would tell that she was moving over to Germany from Iran in the 60s. And I could show on threads that there is a kind of oddity in that story. So, and at the latest, recently, let's say since May, when they had gotten the impression that I now was being interested in football, was becoming interested in football, they would logically strengthen their efforts, whatever that means. And prior, that had already started in the health center when I was bored each and every time, and each and every time I had the impression there is something else behind. And now I have, I think, the solution. It was all video cammed, and they would make sure that the persons interested in that very person, which was me, would get dragged out and would be presented with another quasi-Imker-Westermann, of which they would have plenty on offer, and only few would know, well, this is a kind of a scam, we don't believe that. So those people would be the first in the row to getting blackmail attempted. Was it like that? And as I argued that I indeed was already pawned, and that there is for certain no need to doing that a second time with, for example, any of their tricks, and thereby finally really put me into a Sumpf of which no escape would be possible. It is likely that they would search for certain centuries. Let's say for those people who are 70, older even, 50, my age, maybe 40-year-old people. Yeah, and there they would find open arms, because of course they did not want to get involved any longer and any further than already than they were already finished with. So, and now which kind of people are behind? Which kind of people are behind? I repeat it. Friedrich Lüthe, Tolai Kocha, Eva Großbernd. Why? Because they would form a grouping that knew that there was at least one occasion on which I was seen totally full viewed frontwise, Jews as then gainable an impression of a circumcised penis, and then making the impression, wow, there are two Jews fucking, which was not true, because the male one is a leftist, German, non-Jew, non-religiously affiliated, me, a non-Jew, and the Jew's nose may be also visible. I would have gotten from the escalator accident / murder attempt done by my brother, which puts my brother directly into first rows of being interested that things at first go on further, that further money is earned, that secondly I would not have any clue, that thirdly I would not have any chance when applying, that fourthly any person willing to help would be thwarted off. For that it was useful to place me in a neighborhood which is not friendly at all, by contrast which is marching in here once in a while, and if not all, then important few. For example, the brunette, I presume, the dark-haired, I presume, other people, and those resembling the one that would former march into our house in Lower Saxony, a Ilse Fahrenholz type, she a two-colored one. So, and if that was a test case done for very wealthy few, as a trophy to hand it over to elsewhere, but only there where the real money were, then they would try to do another test that soon would assumption that soon would evolve into a huge money money gathering scheme for few. So that Friederike Lüthe would invite me over and the Turkish one over to Braunschweig, and to that place I described it. One arrives there through a very nice A park, and the flat, okay, student's flat, yeah, okay, but inside a very sleek and very nice and very beautiful, a dark, sleek, as said, buffet. That one as the huge TV that the former love relationship number 2 got and had for that very occasion, which I could not have any clue about, because I did not think that one indeed can, as Jochen Breyer is suggesting, that one indeed can creep oneself into other people living and even bedrooms. So she would then say, this is a buffet. I would see the bed, and the sentence was uttered, es ist angerichtet. Ja, es ist angerichtet. So it is being served. And most probably other people were being invited in and were doing porno films. I cannot say whether all people involved were in the nose or not, but if not, we have a huge complex of criminality. Friederike Lüthe, more than just providing a flat and a space. But having received already, for what? Really for a done exam or for anything else? Me, by contrast, had also a very nice furniture piece, which I bought from a Polish flea market years before. It was a Hutschrank. A Hutschrank which was very nice and which I always would move with into other flats. Starting from Marburg 2 even. So I still would be able to stand it in Erfurt 2 and in Erfurt 3 also, but then it was away, because people would gather my first household, worth a 40,000 euro only insurance worth, plus the evidence worth. If one could measure evidence according to money worth. And indeed, astoundingly, one can. I've never heard about it, albeit I don't know too much about the STPO, but indeed it is possible. The sleek furniture of hers, of Friederike Lüthes, is likely to have been a stolen piece. A stolen piece out of a blue-blooded household, for example. A stolen piece out of a blue-blooded household. And for that, likely they would take the Bülow household. And now is the question, was Loriot a real Bülow or not? I cannot step on that area any further than already done. I only can say that a second love relationship of mine indeed has, I never had thought about it, indeed has some similarities to Loriot. And upon writing and creating solutions by means of formulating, I also had the idea that I could put him into relativity to persons that I knew long, because Silke Gründel was, since she was 6 and I was 6 also, she was in at least also my school, if not the same class. So, and that she, with her acquaintances, in that also a brunette-haired one, that they would develop such a scheme in togetherness with others is only explainable on grounds of jealousy, lastly greed, envy. Envy because I was the daughter of someone, and they did not think that I was not feeling too well in that role. due to the odd behavior of people. Finally, they might have thought, well, it might that have been the case, so let's strip her of that past, because also we need it. And on that idea, they could have come upon earlier inquiries. Well, did she have a sexual intercourse now with that one, or with that one, or with no one? So, I thought Marburg, 300 kilometers was far away enough. So, the quasi-mother, what would she do? One has to distinguish, unless I can do another example of testing case and then a follow-up case which would get huge and known and would earn and would kind of cover up the previous testing case involving me, and thereby totally misabusing and disusing me, putting me aside, enabling more endangerments even, as was shown in 2006. A priori. They would exploit my brother as well. They would know a thing or two, and they would take him as finally a legal advisor even. Would place him in that role together with a Jan Dirk Lücke, for example, the brother of Tina Lücke, being educated to one day replacing me, likely, the mother a RAF, likely, the father a light red-haired one, with a Hans-Henning Ostermeier, with a, did I already? No, I did not. Jan Witte. So those people themselves in higher ranks, so to speak, because both of the latter mentioned are in Studentenverbindungen. I think even in those most traditional, meaning stepping-wise and florette-wise and so on. So I reiterate, I did not marry any of those. I don't want to have anything to do, if possible, with those people. It is important that it has been me, because only then one arrives at further circle of people, and at certain other fields of businesses. For example, taking other people's work results and handing them out to elsewhere, as was previously done, which is in close connectivity to lastly the TV and the flat S juice-nosed front viewing on a circumcised penis, that crime complex. So the 13 points homework result finally led to that. So the teaching, don't be a pioneer because you get fucked. And also, if real or unreal, it was said so that the professor, having given me that information, that 5 other people were also having good result, also having suggested, well, maybe this is fishy, because you handed in after 3 weeks and they would hand in after 6 weeks, which was possible. So only this connection allows for researching there where the fire is, and not only the smell. Which in the sports context is therefore important, because one of those persons that was presented with my then later 13 points homework result is now an American university absolvent, medical expert, which is completely out of reaches. Sports law and the keyword Knebelverträge, for example, if one disregards those contexts. One would not arrive at the right people, and one would not even be able to think over certain contracts if those were all on legal grounds because now we are even in spheres that were then unthinkable, maybe, if not in the GDR, because they had started early on. Yeah, in grounds of in spheres of biochemistry, which really no one understands, and no one knows what happens if one licks there, touches there, fucks there, or eats there, even eats there, and all of a sudden one is dependent and interwoven into a system that one has no a clue about, but other people do, and one finally, lastly, in the worst possible case, one becomes a marionette. Yeah, one simply becomes a marionette. A person in a computer store here suggested that, but yeah, hanging in there a picture of a marionette, it says nothing. It helps really nothing. It is just a picture. It says nothing. And if you say, well, this guy knows something, there he hangs a picture, yeah, and maybe this is a evidence or what, forget about it. It is useless. It is totally useless, uninteresting, interesting only for psychologists on the searches of the next holds, if one is honest, that would gulp another heap of medicaments. Me, a threefold diagnosis, yeah, a threefold diagnosis. A person that moved into Marburg 1, that produced 13 points, and the flat prior was inhabited by a person on Catholic theology. Yeah? So then the thinking, well, if she moves in here and uses a part of our furniture and produces that, it was ours. That could have been the thinking there. Already quite psychotic. Yeah, but yeah, understand it. Either completely upshoveling everything, or relying lastly on those kind of people, introducing those teachings. Well, you move into our flat, everything which is in that flat is ours. Yeah, also you. Can I think of another juxtaposition? There was one, I think. So, really, the only reason why I wrote you all this was not to entertain you, but to do a sound ground for crime salvation possibilities. I would not have told anything. I remind you that I indeed was hesitant to even tell the birth year of mine when starting here a second study. I would tell I did not succeed in German law. I did attempt twice to get the exam, but I did not succeed. Yeah, thereby suggesting, well, I had already a life and no need for me to going out here too often. Yeah, I tell you my birthday, it is on the 19th of July, but any other thing, yeah, just spares me. And then they would present me that. And really a kind of, really continuously, like children do, stress me out. And doing that setup, teaching people, don't tell her anything. Not teaching, but demanding of people to behave towards me like they did. Really, it is a structural procedure that was only possible with involvement of sound knowledge of German law, with sound knowledge of psychology, with sound knowledge of economic mathematics, with sound knowledge later on of economics psychology, two fields which are totally unknown and which I already could juxtapose. In a longer video, which might not be regarded as nice, but I cannot be nice when being involved in such a crime complex and would not see any shore, but only see the my coming demises. And that would enable people. My brother is an example, and the person just quickly, shortly mentioned in an early long video, the one which I accompany with some jinns to devour. Those are but two examples that show that certain people are really sitting on certain grounds which enable them to be aufreizend, friendly and calm. Thereby, as regards my brother, having already started to move over characteristics, because I would so those then also having enabled my brother with a role that he played, and enabling him to live on costs of his Lebensgefährtin, which he has no own flat. He has no real own money that he can spend. He is also dependent on that one. But with the ability to completely direct our father, the one who was since recently the one who was holding all the family money. So setting my brother in that role also plays a huge part. He, however, made mistakes. He did not file me as a vermisste, as a missed person, as if I was our grandfather. Yeah? He did not file me with the police, but he would make my father pay for a private person to see where I was ending. And indeed, as mentioned and always reiterated, at least one murder attempt was done. Also, taking each and every person that objectively really was among the circle of people that one objectively would have researched further on, did those maybe do that very website, which was for certain existing, because I can show it formulating wise. Enabling those people with those roles, which I still don't know, but likely, yeah, it is also, it feeds in, it feeds really in. And then the idea to really wanting to know who I fucked, when and why and how, under which circumstances. This is animal. This is really animal, yeah? It really objectively, it puts off. It puts completely off. And behind there is a completely another story. There is the idea, the Catholic idea, to and honestly undo history, because I also could show that there is an interest to make the church in our village, which was a kind of mine because I practiced their organ, was going to be corrected also. yeah, same level, people to people level, placing each and every person 20 years back, despite me losing 20 years. This is really not acceptable at all. And the reason why I'm still here calm and getting loud only a few times on telephones is that I see Shaw's as regards the solvability of this huge crime complex that no one would have a clue about where to start and what to do, which would lead to jurists and how one could do now, misdoing wise, could proceed further. You would collect each and every apt, objectively apt insult done, would collect and transport those cases to elsewhere, handed in elsewhere in courts in Germany. If it was only in Germany, yeah, upon having listened also to what those people were uttering, whilst only watching my videos. Despite the blackmailing attempt issue, one could do loads and loads and loads and loads of insult cases, and thereby completely upfucking lastly the law system, because it takes time to read only through those complaints. Whilst we are dealing here with murder attempts, with illegal researches on fields of psychology, yeah, the question of Opferschutz, for example, and the question of Gewaltforschung, violence researches, and the field of biochemistry. Yeah, this is completely kept in the dark, as well as those murders which were being done whilst stalking our family through the decades since World War II days. This would be completely have been left in the dark, whilst those people, having been around and having collected themselves together through the decades, would kind of rotate and all of a sudden be out of matters. Be completely out of matters, or they have gained too much powers, and for certain not each and everyone managed to get into security offices, authority offices like BND, MAD, 16 Verfassungsschutz, including the main one, police, and so on and so forth. Because no, those people themselves would also they were first in the rows to getting invited to somewhere for blackmailing attempts, for illegal biochemistry researches, for researches how does that one react to this and that, and so on and so forth. Thereby embettering lastly the prostitution scheme, the porno thing scheme, and allowing for more, earning more money, which is good, but they completely would enable themselves to control other people. Enable themselves control other people working in those very sensitive fields in a formally grounded, sound and important country. If I see only the Turk and her hint as regards the edible producing goods producing industry, yeah. Where does the money go? Where does the money go? The money goes elsewhere. For example, to Kayseri in midst of Turkey. Assumption. The quasi-mother. Now the quasi-mother. What she would do, one would have to distinguish between nega as nega, as I already re-met her in Berlin. Then she was all of a sudden a blonde with a strong Zöpfe, Zuffer, I think in Arabic it is. And if one is honest already then, I must say I felt reminded of a picture. But I would not inquire, because this was so out of the possible that I simply did not ask. Did you see a picture stolen out or copied out of our house, and you have made yourself my aunt? Yeah, thereby kind of taking over already an identity, or starting to doing so, of a person that was, how old was that one? Like my mother, yeah, that was maybe 30 or 40 years older than her. And having nothing to do, anything to do with Iran. Nothing, anything. Also not with their life. So that one I saw in Berlin, and she had a huge A flat, and the huge A flat was resembled here on a person also of importance, and also a disappointing one, because she was one of the more important ones that I would have more than just a coffee with, but would meet once in a while. That one was already made of importance when she was 10, because as a 10-year-old she got at least bought, if not already then presented, a pair of shoes that she would wear when it was clear that one me gets her BA, very good, under 2, and she could come over the ASEAN problem. So the shoes that I wore as a 16-year-old, in some numbers smaller, because that one is taller than I, she would wear those shoes in 2005. So also here the example that one puts himself or gets put into shoes and places of another person older, and thereby starting to gain another identity. If that was already money worth, I cannot judge at the instance of a moment. So let's hark back to Negar Berlin. She, then blonde, the foot, if one wills, if one can formulate so, with a huge flat that also the shoe presented with one from Bavaria, or south of Thuringia, a place, by the way, which is known for selling drugs, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, of course, it's close by the Czech border. So, and both shared the same flat. One, however, is in Erfurt, and the other is in Berlin. Not unimportant in address, and if being asked, I can tell more. Of course, I can be hindered to tell more, because this is already sensitive. The aunt of mine had an issue. I was told that she would freak out. My mother got the information, and we just took the information. We are not a family that keeps contacts. It is simply like that. So, if I was now being made to understand my aunt, it is also questionable. Yeah, who was putting himself in that a role to teach a person not known on a person hardly ever met, though relative, such a lesson. Yeah, that cost me 20 years. That gave me a 3-foot-A diagnosis, hindering me to do as I would have, as I might have done. Yeah. Ziganis, for example. So likely that this Negar is really a Zigani and not an Iranian at all. Problem here that I'm presentable indeed as a Jew, which is also the reason why the rear photo view is important to having taken place, because one can teach you a thing or two. Yeah, the idea to let run against each other former groupings World War II, that the Nazis would not run against each other, if I'm not mistaken, but simply put aside as a whole of people to be thrown out of Germany. So now the idea, which one might have been more important, how history really was. Yeah, were the Ziganis better or the Jews? Yeah, this is appalling an idea. This is really appalling an idea, and as regards the structurality behind those undertakings, the overall undertaking, it really demands an answer how this can be included, when it was indeed the case that legal-wise, business knowledge-wise, and psychology-wise, it is quite grounded and carefully done, as if there was no escape. But I found some holes, and I managed already to throw balls over borders. Yeah, I remind you, the Swifts, the No Testament, and the idea upon my death here done, somehow murky, or even just natural, unless any sound and betterment of my position, meaning a rehabilitation, a full information given to me, yeah, not leaving me with my own thinking and so on and so forth, but a kind of Bestätigung. Yeah, unless that it is already over borders, that indeed I can have had a completely different citizenship, and you would have no idea which that could have been. As regards the so-called Anspruchsvermögen of mine, which I have written for myself, ad and foremost, not knowing about anyone else at this point of time, yeah, the lacking of information issue. As regards that, it is as following approximately. No, I have lost the thread. Yeah, but it is already enough. So any citizenship I indeed can have had. Oh yes, and the three countries which are likely to being a recipient of my so-called Anspruchsvermögen, which I scribbled for myself, are indeed Arabian Gulf countries. There are some, and when in there you see different emirates, so also, yeah, it increases the number. And Australia, of course, for reasons, not Jackson Irvine, but for reasons, and America. Great Britain I excluded because they did not ask me. They could have. There were chances. Yeah, I also could have already. I might. Yeah, it might even that have been possible. That there already I switched citizenship. So I tell you here, just go and fuck yourself, yeah? Simply go and fuck yourself. And no one. So in a ways I have already won on some levels. So no one indeed could have expected that. No one. Completely different. Those people that were put as if in circles around me, starting with this one in the most sensitive realm, yeah, the realm where one is living. Those people there behind and ordering and demanding that all, and expecting that, and being able to expect that from people, despite own wishes and interests, preferably and firstly ascribable to the brunette one, likely a real Bücken yeah, more than I, because my parents were stemming, if from Lower Saxony, not from that village, but close by Osnabrück. So we are kind of second-ordered Bükeners, if one will, because our family does not stem from there. So those people demanding that could not have expected that I get that far, and employing those people and seeing those people expecting things of me, and letting them being in the waitings, and even seeing them earning the money that is mine, is worth further legal undertakings. But this needs time. But this is can also be part of a Anspruchsvermögen. Yeah, claimabilities of just anything can be part of a Anspruchsvermögen. On the other hand, though, I wrote everything on behalf of Germany, because I enable legal cases without which nothing else will be possible as regards claimabilities now that have already arisen upon me having been fucked, having lost my second household, and that having been used for feeding into all kinds of industries. And having stolen the device, yeah, the device on which I had the full content of my computer, is a huge disaster, and demands indeed for looking not into 185 following StGB, but earlier around 100 plus minus 20 approximately. Because what those people were doing directly runs against the state, directly. Without that, what I have mentioned, yeah, those, and be it those pictures of a female body, lastly, without that and the whole context, which only I can have had, without that, nothing else is possible. Arguable and groundable. And this is so fantastic that I indeed can say I have already won. So I wanted to find an answer to the question how it is possible that in that sensitive field, it is not merely religious study, it is not merely historian stuff. It touches upon psychology. It touches upon a human and understanding of things without being academically knowledged. So the question is, how was it possible that Ziganis and Jews, resembled by few and me as a quasi-Jew, Jews with nose, and that S on, yeah, and circumcised and so on and so forth, how it was possible that has completely neglected and disregarded and not been seen. This is really an interesting question that I think in the instant of a moment I cannot find an answer. Unless it was somehow of importance that indeed the Judaism professor that I had, Andreas Gottsmann, that he presented himself once in maybe a telling place in company of an elder woman, which a light chooser might have found interesting, because he told me that one was homosexual, the male one. I did not want to know that. Yeah, why does he tell that? So, but I also, I can say I found that encounter quite astounding, and I tell you why. Because of this. That woman reminded me of the Caroline Meinl, her living space, Marburg One social context. Because that one was as if a resemblance, maybe of really the landlord's daughter. Likely it was her that would march into Caroline Meinl's flat when I was there for 2 or 3 days, not sleeping there, but just hopping over from my place in order to use her computer, and me having a terminus technicus, a real key, which likely the landlord's daughter had not, but had the Stirn, man muss sagen, ja, had really the Stirn to present me a woman's trouser, a woman's panty that was laid down on the bathroom floors of Caroline Meinl's apartment. Yeah, there I typed in my handwriting, and there the 13 points also came into being. Question maybe for finding an answer to that open question, which is also thereby not really answered, is if it was expected that this question was seen. Yeah, the question who was most important, or who was maybe better in the eyes of Nazis, Jews or Ziganese, in terms of usability, maybe that. Maybe one comes closer via the question which one is more useful. Yeah, Zigani with this crowd already likely having gotten a place in Steinfurt, abbreviated as T, as a friend or husband, I'm just assuming here, of my half cousin, that one which is less attractive than I, older than I, but very likable and very nice. And in first beginnings of that streak, formable into a Möbius ribbon. And the Möbius ribbon suggests already, yeah, if there are people in, they soon can fall out if one gets the Möbius ribbon and draws, and yeah, people fall out, and another grouping comes in, and touches upon the question that I posed already in directions of teenies here, in the waitings of gaining households, clothing, textual pieces, degrees even, of people already having fallen out or prone to fall out soon, like me. Yeah, the question, what do they think will happen with the originals? What do those teenies and 20s and 30s think will happen to those originals? It's simply scheißegal, yeah. It's simply, from their point of view, totally scheißegal. More so, it is necessary that there are certain people at hands that would take care that those originals indeed fall out. Also, therefore, I insist that I have done my part, and I want to have my share because I was not informed. It was early beginnings, a test case that I was not informed upon. I was taken as a pioneer, and that role is already scribed. Yeah, that one comes back, reports, and then nothing. Till the next, go there, search. I was not told anything, I did everything on my own behalf, and if people follow me photograph me, and so on and so on. This has to be responded, to be answered. And placing themselves in the role of caring parents, yeah, as if, yeah, very good psychologists that ought better have stepped onto fields of forensics early on, other than trying to find is astounding and also demands for an answer. What do those people think that I would think that I'm here totally verarscht, get no information? What do they think would happen? Couldn't they expect that at the latest then, she, meaning I, would attempt a suicide? Have you taken that into account also? So they simply decided upon my fate, upon their very own wishes, being in the waitings for collecting monies either for themselves directly, for their field of researchers. Yeah, the Gottsman example. He gets now a very cute an idea how to retell Jews history, using legal knowledge. Yeah, me having remained on grounds also doable by a person very intelligent. Having gotten the idea where from, somehow, how then, that one can employ illegal paragraphs out of the SDGB. And plus, the 10 euro against some ticks on a formula issue, yeah, also was harked back upon. So yeah, it is astounding an idea to justify here march-ins on a regular basis, as the one from above would tell me. She would tell me, yeah, she is today having a Nachtwache. Also, psychosis, yeah, shall I spring on that information? No, I can't, because I don't know if it was her going here in there and see what my fridge contains. It contains nothing, I show you. It contains nothing. It contains really nothing, yeah? Yeah, some noodles or what? Pizza is eaten. It is simply, I tell it to you directly, if you listen or not, it is appalling and inexcusable. You have me indeed as your adversary. Indeed, you have me all as your adversary. Those people that I once liked and that were once close to me. Social contacts, yeah. But I did you a favor. I told you who was likely to have been behind. The mother, the quasi-mother, Nega. It is just... It is just as of now that I got the idea that she can indeed have been a Zigani, and in that case I would place her, I would suggest she's from the south. By contrast, Fischer, if he was a Zigani, because he's looking out, if one is honest, he is likely to be one from the north. Yeah, do a journey backwards, arrive there where you don't know the language, which is Urdu. It is really too difficult for me. So do that and get bremsed out ever further. those bits and pieces and ideas are very good. One of ours is going to take them and piss off. Yeah, likewise. Have they also seen what I saw in inverted commas, that indeed I could own a football company? Likely. Therefore, they would drag out those people that would show most interest, that would even start communicating like other people do, and that then already were just recently presented by the ZDF. So question here, is the ZDF being advised by Zigani or what? Also, there are some people, they have me as their adversary, which is a kind of Größenwahnsinnig, I know that. But I remind you, there is other medias in this world other than just German. Some clues I have already given. It will take a year or two until I get there any further. But the persons that were presented when I was being made to stay for 2 months in a health center clinic, on no grounds other than a person found me too thin. It was also, well, if they would present me with a former law professor, no, well, not with the real one, but just with a placeholder. So what shall that suggest? Yeah? I suggested. It was indeed me who did, under his auspices, lastly an oral exam and was best in that. 8 points. Yeah, so I got those 8 points without having to fuck him. I assure you that. Likely that one saw those pictures and was blackmailable. Likely. Most probably. But one should overcome that hurdle in order to get further into realms that are kind of closed by those kind of people. By those kinds of people, having placed themselves into positions they would never have come into other than criminality-wise. Crime committing or letting crime committing wise. So, the quasi-mother, she would, I don't know, Eniga could not have known my mother, and be it via legal recordings done in our house, in Lower Saxony. She might have invented a completely a person that is not recognizable at all. In the effect, I also from that quasi-mother I would get not any money, not at all. So my mother would give me what I needed and what I wanted. She would pay me that second I study, but she would pay that not to other people than just for me. So my mother, my real mother, that I grew up with, and that is now in her devices as a halfway 90-year-old, no, as a almost 90-year-old in Bremen, she would not have come to the idea that I was going to be exploited severely. Having lived on her money, she would not have come to the idea. But she would, upon the wishes or the characteristics of my brother applied, she would set onto the wrong horse, if one wills. She also would set onto the wrong horse. She would sound in and tell me, well, this is a Wahnvorstellung, it is not possible that one marches into another person's flat, that one can creep into another person's computer. She having no knowledge of criminality at all, for example, statistics. She has no knowledge at all, but she would follow my brother after 2006, who gave the parole That one was there and was writing that, so let's all forget about it. Thereby completely disregarding my context that I had lived in when on foreign soil in the UAE. So I had no chance to explain myself, to correct thinking, to answer to a concrete set of questions. Even I had not been given any chance at all. Albeit I had driven myself in a rented car in July 2007. It was the 7th, the night from the 7th on the 8th. I would even sleep in a car and having a shower in the near of a Bahnhof. So no one was interested. By contrast, they were where I had been. They were astounded. They were astounded to see me, albeit it was just at the forefront in the offices higher up towards the top. I don't know what was happening there. I don't know. I stopped at the front desk. I could have marched further, but I had no clue where to sort myself into and where to sort happenings into and anything. I had no clue. I did not sit on my, as of now, textual grounds. So, the quasi-mother, in effect, as a nigga, taught or not taught, she would not give me anything. So, those quasi-parents, of course, can I have an interest to meet them? No. Because also, they are likely to having been made, the parents, if not made by those then quasi siblings, quasi daughters and sons, so they are just theirs. But the money that is landed there too, it is mine. It is mine, and so authorities have enough clues and hints, had they known things earlier, to finally collect those people and put him into Stammheim, for example. So this would be a nice place to be, in Stuttgart, in Stammheim. So, and the keyword siblings that I myself would use in 2006 in those scribblings and writings, forget about it. I wrote just anything, just halfway anything to get myself out of that mess and a situation which I did not really could look through. As such, it was designed, which parts of you people knew. So to this closely connected is my ponderings and considerations about but one of the brunette ones.